Every week, millions of Americans walk down the frozen food aisle looking for a quick, cheap, and convenient dinner. You see pictures of roasted chicken, vibrant green vegetables, and rich savory sauces promised on the front of the box. It looks like a home-cooked meal, preserved at peak freshness, ready in under 5 minutes. But behind those polished images lies one of the most sophisticated illusion machines in the modern grocery market. Ten popular frozen meals stood out for reasons the brands would prefer you never look into, while only 3 managed to meet basic standards of real food. Before you heat up your next dinner, there is one critical detail hiding in plain sight on the back label that changes everything. To understand how the modern frozen food industry operates, you have to look back at how these products were originally designed. Decades ago, frozen meals were introduced as a miracle of modern engineering, bringing convenience to busy families who lacked time to cook from scratch. Early television dinners relied on straightforward ingredients, basic freezing techniques, and traditional recipes. However, as corporate consolidation took over the grocery supply chain, food manufacturers faced intense pressure to lower production costs while extending shelf life. Over time, traditional ingredients like real butter, fresh cream, and whole cuts of meat were systematically replaced by cheaper industrial alternatives. The modern freezer aisle became a battlefield of low-cost formulations engineered to stay shelf-stable for months or even years inside a deep freeze. When evaluating these products, we analyzed 4 core factors: ingredient quality, processing severity, sodium-to-nutrient ratios, and packaging transparency. What became clear is that modern packaging is designed to leverage specific psychological triggers. Vibrant images of fresh herbs and farm-fresh poultry suggest wholesome nutrition, while bold claims like high protein or low calorie distract buyers from what is actually happening in the ingredient list. Most consumers assume that frozen food is simply real food frozen in time. The reality is that many of these entrees are complex industrial formulations designed to simulate the taste, texture, and appearance of real food using cheap chemical substitutes. Number 10 on our list begins with a brand that built its entire identity on classic comfort food. For generations, chicken pot pies were made with fresh pastry dough, real butter, and slow-cooked meat. When frozen food technology expanded mid-century, this classic meal was transformed into a cheap freezer staple. Millions of busy families turned to these small golden pies as an affordable staple. The box showcases a golden crust overflowing with white meat chicken and fresh green peas. The consumer expects a nourishing home-style dinner made with standard pantry ingredients. However, an analysis of the ingredient panel reveals a stark reality. The golden crust is largely held together by hydrogenated oils and refined wheat flour engineered for long shelf life rather than nutritional value. The gravy relies heavily on modified food starch, sodium phosphate, and artificial flavor enhancers to simulate the rich taste of long-simmered broth. Even worse, the serving size on the box can be deeply misleading, often splitting a small single pie into 2 separate servings to make the sodium and saturated fat numbers appear manageable at first glance. What seems like a wholesome classic is actually an exercise in ultra-processed food engineering. The reputation of traditional comfort food remained, but the industrial formula quietly replaced the recipe. Number 9 takes us into the world of diet-focused frozen entrees, launched during the height of the low-calorie fitness movement. This brand promised that losing weight did not mean giving up savory meals. Marketers targeted health-conscious consumers with crisp pastel packaging and claims of calorie control. Buyers believe they are making a smart, healthy choice that actively supports their weight loss goals. But when you look past the low-calorie count on the front panel, the underlying chemistry tells a different story. To make up for the lack of natural fats and real flavor, manufacturers frequently load these low-calorie meals with excess sodium and synthetic thickeners. A single tiny tray can contain nearly half of your recommended daily salt intake, leading to water retention and unexpected blood pressure spikes. Furthermore, the reliance on isolated soy protein and maltodextrin means the meal digests rapidly, leaving you feeling hungry shortly after eating. The marketing promised a balanced diet solution, but the tray delivered high sodium and low satiety. Number 8 involves a heavy-hitting staple of frozen pasta dishes. Fettuccine Alfredo and meat lasagnas have long been advertised as quick restaurant-quality dinners for exhausted weeknights. Millions of shoppers choose them because Italian dishes feel satisfying, rich, and warm. Consumers expect authentic cream, aged Parmesan cheese, and genuine olive oil. The reality inside the tray relies on heavy chemical stabilization. Real dairy ingredients like cream and cheese are expensive and degrade quickly during deep freezing. To cut costs, many major manufacturers substitute real cream with water, whey protein concentrate, and palm oil emulsions. Sodium tripolyphosphate is frequently added to keep the meat textures from separating during reheating. While artificial flavorings mimic authentic aged cheese, you are not eating a traditional Italian recipe. You are eating an emulsified liquid oil blend stabilized for frozen storage. The front of the package promised authentic Italian heritage, but the supply chain prioritized low-cost industrial substitutes. Number 7 targets the ultra-popular frozen burrito category. Originally popularized as a portable meal for workers and students, frozen burritos grew into a multi-billion-dollar industry segment. They are marketed as convenient, protein-packed fuel for people on the go. The average buyer expects standard seasoned beef, whole beans, and real cheddar cheese wrapped inside a simple flour tortilla. What actually ends up inside the wrapper is often a low-cost byproduct mixture known in the industry as mechanically separated meat and textured vegetable protein. To stretch profit margins, actual whole meat content is kept minimal, replaced by soy flour and cellulose powder to absorb excess moisture. The seasoning packet is heavily reliant on monosodium glutamate and high-fructose corn syrup to mask the blandness of the filler ingredients. What was bought as a hearty protein meal turned out to be mostly refined flour, soy filler, and synthetic seasoning. Number 6 brings us to Asian-inspired frozen bowls, specifically sweet and sour chicken and teriyaki beef. These meals carry an aura of fresh stir-fry, often displaying images of crisp broccoli, bright red peppers, and tender seared meat.
Ow.
Millions purchase them, believing they are a healthier alternative to fast food takeout. Consumers expect lean protein, combined with authentic spices and fresh vegetables. However, an inspection of the sauce composition reveals that many of these entrees contain more added sugar per serving than a standard can of soda. High-fructose corn syrup is frequently listed as the second or third main ingredient, used to create a thick, shiny glaze that conceals lower-quality meat cuts. Additionally, the chicken pieces are often heavily breaded and fried in refined seed oils before freezing, rapidly inflating the total calorie and trans fat profile. The consumer sought a light, fresh stir-fry, but received a heavy vessel for liquid sugar and refined oils. Number 5 centers on deep dish personal frozen pizzas. Pizza has always been America's ultimate comfort food. Personal frozen pies offer instant satisfaction without delivery fees. Advertisements emphasize real mozzarella cheese and zesty tomato sauce. Buyers expect a classic slice of pizza made with straightforward dough, sauce, and cheese, but to keep the crust from becoming soggy during long storage and reheating, manufacturers treat the wheat dough with dough conditioners, enzymes, and chemical preservatives. The cheese product used on budget lines is often not genuine cheese at all, but an imitation cheese product made from water, palm oil, and milk protein concentrate. This allows the product to melt smoothly while cutting manufacturing costs in half. The box advertised a neighborhood pizzeria experience, but the ingredient list reads like an industrial manufacturing log. Number 4 focuses on frozen Salisbury steak and gravy dinners. Introduced during the golden age of TV dinners, these meals carry deep nostalgia for older generations and budget-conscious buyers. They are presented as a full home-style dinner, complete with mashed potatoes and corn. Consumers expect a solid piece of ground beef topped with savory mushroom gravy. In reality, the steak patty is heavily extended with textured soy protein concentrate, water, and caramel color to create the visual illusion of grilled meat. The gravy is largely constructed from modified cornstarch, salt, and hydrolyzed corn protein. Furthermore, the plastic trays used for these high-heat microwave meals have raised ongoing questions among food safety researchers regarding chemical leaching when heated to high temperatures. Nostalgia built decades of customer loyalty, while modern reformulations steadily eroded product quality. Number 3 involves frozen breakfast sandwiches containing bacon, egg, and cheese. Promoted as the ultimate morning time saver for busy commuters, these sandwiches are bought by millions every day. Buyers expect fresh eggs, real smoked bacon, and sharp cheddar on a toasted biscuit. However, the egg component in many mass-market frozen sandwiches is not a simple cracked egg, but a complex egg mixture containing liquid egg product, soybean oil, modified food starch, and artificial yellow colorings. The bacon is frequently cured with sodium nitrite and synthetic smoke flavors, while the biscuit relies on hydrogenated shortening to maintain texture after months in a deep freezer. What felt like a fresh breakfast to start the day was actually an intricate mix of food additives and preserved egg solids. Number 2 takes a close look at frozen meatball entrees. Meatballs are perceived as a wholesome, protein-dense food suitable for pasta or subs. Marketing often invokes traditional family recipes and authentic seasoning. Consumers expect ground beef or pork mixed with breadcrumbs and herbs, but independent ingredient audits reveal that budget frozen meatballs frequently rely on mechanically separated poultry as the primary meat source, which is far cheaper than ground beef. Excess salt, soy lecithin, and sodium phosphates are introduced to bind the meat paste together into uniform spheres. The resulting product is extremely high in sodium and saturated fats. While offering significantly lower quality protein than fresh homemade alternatives, the packaging promised traditional quality, but the factory relied on cheap poultry paste and chemical binders. Number 1 on the list of frozen meals to avoid comes down to ultra-processed family meal trays marketed as wholesome dinners. These large-format family meals promise an affordable way to feed an entire household quickly. Parents buy them assuming they are providing a substantial protein meal for their children. But when analyzing the ratio of actual whole food to fillers, these products represent the extreme end of food processing. The meat content is often less than half of the patty volume, filled out with water, soy flour, and bleached wheat flour. The sodium levels in a single serving can exceed 60% of the daily recommended limit, meaning a standard meal for a family delivers dangerous amounts of excess salt and synthetic preservatives. The promise was an affordable family feast, but the delivery was a masterclass in low-cost chemical stretchers. While these 10 meals demonstrate the compromises of the mass-market frozen food industry, not every brand follows this playbook. A select group of modern manufacturers has proven that frozen food does not have to mean compromised health. By shifting away from synthetic stabilizers and prioritizing whole ingredients, 3 specific brands have set a new standard for transparency and quality. The third best option in the frozen food aisle belongs to brands producing single erogened whole food bowls. These companies refuse to use modified starches, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial preservatives. Instead, they freeze organic vegetables and grass-fed meats within hours of harvest using advanced flash freezing technology. The ingredient list contains items you would readily find in your own kitchen. Olive oil, sea salt, garlic, and fresh herbs, because they do not rely on sodium as a primary preservative. Their salt levels remain reasonable while retaining high nutritional density. The second best option comes from transparent, plant-forward frozen meal makers. Rather than using soy isolates or imitation meat pastes, these meals rely on whole black beans, lentils, quinoa, and fresh vegetables to provide clean protein and dietary fiber. They disclose every ingredient clearly on the front of the package, eliminating hidden gums and hydrogenated oils. Consumers receive genuine cellular nutrition rather than emulsified calories, proving that convenience does not require chemical compromise. The toe-branked frozen meal brand stands completely apart from the rest of the industry. This manufacturer uses exclusively wild-caught seafood, organic grains, and extra virgin olive oil. Every meal tray is made from non-toxic, compostable materials, eliminating concerns over plastic chemical migration during heating. Their supply chain is fully traceable, allowing consumers to trace their meal back to sustainable farms and fisheries. They prove that with proper technology and honest sourcing, a frozen meal can be just as clean, nourishing, and delicious as a meal cooked from scratch in your own home. When walking down the frozen aisle, remember that the most powerful tool you have is your ability to read past the clever marketing on the front of the box. Look for short, simple ingredient lists with words you recognize. Monitor the total sodium content and avoid products that rely on chemical emulsifiers and refined seed oils. Your health is built on what you choose to put into your body every single day. And making informed choices at the grocery store is where that protection begins. Take a closer look at the back of your freezer today, because what you find might surprise you.